This is my newly created rock face that I made with tinfoil, homemade rock moulds and a couple of Woodland Scenics rock mould. 4 days later, the paint and glue is finally dry. Time to move on to the next stage, which will be adding ground coverage, trees, people, animals, stuff like that. Hello YouTubes, welcome to part 3 of my Rock Your World series. I'm actually really happy with how this turned out. I was a wee bit concerned at first because it just looked so bright and crazy, but the paint's all dried, matte finish. I think it's nice. For a first attempt, I'm more than delighted with how it looks. It does need some more life added to it though, in the form of trees, shrubs, grass, maybe a little path along the top. Lots to consider. And thanks to my neighbour Rick, who gifted me a mountain of scenic materials, no pun intended, I have got an endless choice of what I can do with the top. So let's put this slightly to the side. I'll dig out all the scenic materials I've got and we'll just decide what we're going to do on the fly. So this is my tree selection, some of which I bought. Some came from B&Q Shortline, like this huge bag here. And I got some from my neighbour Rick, including these little awesome little fir trees and this more sort of wiry tree stuff, tree selection there, darker fir trees, fall trees, and that sort of mossy stuff. So plenty to choose from there. This will be the sort of ground cover selection. Woodland Scenic stuff, blended turf, coarse turf, blended turf, coarse turf, different colours. Look at this one. This is actually quite good. It looks really kind of dark and nondescript, but it's pretty good, quite subtle. And all these bags, I'm going to have to put all these into containers like that because it's really difficult to get through all this stuff. And then I've got my ballast and rocky, gravelly stuff and my cork dust that I rescued from all my track, what do you call it? Track bed that I made when I sanded that down. I have like 3 tubs of cork bed, which actually works really good for paths. I've got buff, apparently, whatever that is. I've got this sand that I made up. It's a sort of mixture of grey and dark gravelly stuff for a path, perhaps. Plenty to choose from. And of course, I've got my whole static grass machine. That's a new one I bought, by the way, because the one I made, it works, but not great. And this one works pretty great. So I may be using that up the top. Let's put all the materials to one side and we'll prepare the patient for surgery. So I think I need to do this in layers. I'm going to start with a very fine moss type ground cover. I'll use this green blend blended turf. This is the finest one I've got. So I'll do random spots along the surface, sprinkle on some blended turf. And then once that kind of dries, we'll maybe add a different colour. If I do one colour at a time, it means I can suck up the excess with my wee vacuum cleaner with its little sock attached, and then we don't waste any. And then once that dries, we'll move on to the next colour. So this is just some PVA glue that I've mixed in some brown paint. It's actually darker brown than that, but obviously at the moment, because PVA is white, it looks lighter brown. But once the PVA dries clear, the brown actually goes darker. So this will act as 2 things. It'll act as glue, obviously, but it'll also hide any lighter imperfections in the surface. So I'm not going to directly apply this to the surface. I'm going to use a little brush. And I'll kind of dab it in places. Now, I reckon it's important to only apply this in as close to horizontal surfaces as possible. I mean, I wouldn't be applying it on the underside. And then I'm going to sprinkle on some of the, what have we got? Green blend. It's really quite fine turf. And these little applicator bottles are good to just let it pour out, rather than just trying to sprinkle it everywhere. You waste a lot of stuff. Right, let's start with, whatever. I've procrastinated long enough. I'm going to start down here. And I'm just going to look for general horizontalish kind of surfaces. don't want to go too mad. It doesn't need to be everywhere. There's obviously some places that are more horizontal than the others. Let's not go too far in case it's a complete disaster. We'll go as far as this sort of line here. And let's face it, once this stuff's on, I'm not getting it off again, so better get it right. Okay, I think that's good. As he proceeds to add more. Right, let's try that. And I've got an absolute ton of this stuff, so as much as I like to be careful, we might not even end up hoovering this up. This is actually quite good because I'm having to squeeze the bottle to get it out, but that means it's forcing it into the glue. Might need a refill. No, we're okay. So far so good. I think that's looking not too bad. I think I've got all the bits of glue I put down so far. Cool, right, I will continue doing that all the way along. I'm liking this so far. Let's give it a couple of hours to set, dry the glue. I don't want to be sucking it all off before it's dry. Okay, that should be long enough. Let's get our sock or stockingette or whatever it's called. Stick that over there. Now what I've noticed, the best way to do this is stuff it in the inside, and then that will create a nice little bag for when you empty it out again, apparently. Right, this will be noisy. Okay, let's see how that looks close up. So most of it actually get vacuumed up, which is fine because that is really just the right amount, I think. I wanted more of a mossy, grassy look rather than a bush look at this stage. So I think that's what we have accomplished. Right, what's the next step then? I think I'd like that to thoroughly dry before I add any more colours to that. So let's move on to the top section. I want to add a little stone trail all the way along the top, just randomly, not in a straight line if possible. Well, it's not going to be possible because it's all undulating. So I'm going to use my brown glue again. And some of this sand stuff that I made. It's a mixture of kind of stone coloured sand and a little bit of black sand in there just to give it a little bit of variation. Okay, let's not overthink it, let's just go for it. I really don't want this any wider than this brush, to be honest. Last time I did a path it was way too wide. You got to remember it's got to be human sized. And it will be overgrown with shrubs and stuff at the sides. And there'll be natural obstacles in the way, like trees and boulders, but we'll get to that later. There we go. I had to go over it twice, there wasn't quite enough glue on. Right, it seems to be setting quite quickly. So let's get some of my sand on. You know what, I'm going to put this in a little container as well. It makes it easier to apply in a direct line. And I'm just going to lightly press this down. Get as much of the sand gravel to stick. Then obviously we need to let that dry and then vacuum up the excess again. Okay, more waiting. Right, it's been another couple of hours. Time to vacuum up the excess and hopefully reveal a very nice narrow path. Well, that was a disaster. The vacuum cleaner got blocked and I panicked to switch it off because it's got a dodgy off button. I knocked over my scenic area and the sand went everywhere and it didn't even stick, so plan B. I think I'll do my grass and bushes section, which is going to go from roughly here up to pretty much up to the path. And then I've got grass at either side of this little path that'll hold in the sand when I put it down, and then I can drip on some sort of diluted glue in there and then let that set, and then it will stick. That was very disappointing. Okay, so what are we going to do next? As you can see, I have a huge choice of static grass, probably too much. So I think I'll choose 3 kind of slightly contrasting colours. I think I want this section to be kind of lush, so more darker greens rather than the sort of yellow burnt green. But possibly those 3 different shades. We'll try that. Mostly that, a bit less of that, and just a little bit of this stuff. We'll give it a shot. We'll start with the dark green. This could all go horribly wrong. I'm going to put this in random places. Oh, that's too much. Oh, come on. And by random places, I mean all over this corner. Just behave. I don't want it like zebra stripey, you know. It really should be as random as possible. And I think I want to leave some bare spots as well. You know, exposed rock, because grass isn't really going to grow up vertically. Don't really want straight lines either, do I? The spaces that I've missed, I'll be doing the glue again and then adding a different shade of grass. Oh boy. Right, let's give it a go. Let's stick my little pin right in the middle. Grounding pin, just in case you're new to static grass. Give it a go. Okay, not too bad at all. And I will vacuum that up immediately, which will help bring the grass up the way, because obviously some of it's pointing that way, and grass doesn't grow sideways now, does it? I'm going to do the vacuuming off camera so that I don't have more disasters, because you guys cursed me the last time. Vacuuming is done and I managed not to create a natural disaster. So on to the next stage, which will be the lighter green, filling in most of the areas I've not covered there. After that, we will do this weird brownie stuff. What's it called? Winter. I think I'm good with these colour combinations, and the last layer I used, you might have noticed I used just the plain white PVA that dries clear, because I want this little section to come through clear. I didn't want everything just to be brown. And I think where I've left the rock exposed is actually quite a nice touch. I might need to add a little bit of paint there because you can see the plaster cloth underneath. So that needs a wee bit more detail. So I'll now do the rest in a similar fashion. I'll see you when that stage is done. So that's all my grass planted. I think it looks okay so far. Let's see if we can add a little bit more detail to the rock face itself. So I've got this blended turf earth blend and this fall yellow, and I've got all these little flowers, but I think it might just add too much colour to this. I'm more inclined to maybe just add some of this lighter green foliage, or maybe just some of these little tufts that I made. Maybe this colour, just in random spots. Because I kind of like it the way it is, and I don't think there would be a lot of plants growing along there other than the moss. So let's start with some grass tufts. We can always pull them off if we don't like them. Right, let's be careful with this glue and choose our spots wisely. Where do we put the first one? I think one in there. Just a little spot of glue. I don't want it running down the cliff. And let's choose one of these pale, one of these wee guys. Plonk it in there. I think that's all it really needs, is just a little random bush here and there. I think maybe there. Oh, too much glue. Yeah, I think that'll work. Maybe try a different colour for the next one. Up here, I think. Let's go with, I've got a sort of dark green. It's already quite dark. I'll try it. Ugh, I think I put the parchment paper upside down when I made these tufts. Oh well, we're going to be back to the lighter ones. This is slightly different from that one. It's a wee bit darker. This one's quite big. Needs more glue. Hold on. Right, and you go there. Oh, quite like that one there, actually. Okay, right, I'll continue along. Let's see when it's all done. At least this bit. We've still got the top bit to finish off. Okay folks, all my little tufts are in place, and I'm glad I didn't decide to go with all the flowers because it would have been too much. Even as it is, I'm not too sure about it. It might be a wee bit too dazzling or something. We'll see. Once the white PVA dries, it won't be quite so obvious. Okay, let's move on to the top side. I think I want to make it predominantly fir trees at the top. And at the bottom of fir trees, you generally have pine needles. So I'm going to use some of this, what's it? Fine iron ore ballast, apparently. It's really fine, almost reddish stuff, which is kind of similar to pine needles as they collect at the bottom of trees, or at the bottom of pine trees at least. So I'm going to put little circles, well, not so much circles, but little patches of this in all the areas I want to put trees. I don't really want to put the trees on while it's here. I want to have this back on the layout to put the trees on. Purely because if I lift this up full of trees, I'm going to drop it, or I'm going to wreck all my trees. So we'll get all the little patches on first, and then we can finally get this back in the layout and start planting some trees. Let's just test this theory first before I go mad. And when I put this stuff down, I'll put some glue over it to let it set before I put the trees in. Oh goodness. Quite nice stuff, actually. I like it. Right, plonk a tree in, straight as possible. That looks straight. Oh, I think that works actually. Let me know what you think. Oh, it doesn't really matter. It's going to be either done or not done by the time you see it. It looks very bright on camera. It's not as bright and colourful as I see it with my bare eyes, but I think that's going to work. So I just need to kind of decide where on earth all the trees are going and put all the little patches. This will be fun. Right, we need to wait for more glue to dry, so while we're doing that, I'll clear up all this mess and I'll see you when this is back on the layout and we can start planting the trees. Rock face scene is back in its home. Let's get the trees in. As before, let's not overthink this. Let's just start plonking in some trees. If we don't like them, we can always take them back out. So I'm thinking bigger trees at the back, smaller trees at the front. That was strange. Let's try that again. Okay, one down, many to go. Oh, kind of tricky putting them in at an angle. Oh, I think the big one's going to need a bigger hole. He doesn't want to stay straight. Let's try a little colourful one here. Oh, squinty. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, I'll see when I'm done. If I'm being honest, I'm not in love with the red mulch. It might just be that I've been staring at it all day and it's starting to offend me. So we'll leave that for now. The glue's still a bit wet as well. I was having trouble getting the trees in, so I might have to drill little holes. Bearing in mind, the whole top of that is plaster cloth, so it's kind of tricky to get plastic through plaster cloth. And that's a lot of trees. It doesn't look like a lot of trees, but that's a lot of trees. I do have more, but I was starting to really mess up the glue in the surface that isn't dry yet. So we'll leave it for now. I do have more to add. I've got little people and animals, and you may have noticed there's a certain part of the footpath that doesn't make sense. I do have a solution for that, but that'll be in the next video. The final part, part 4 of Rock Your World. I think it turned out okay. I'm fairly happy with it. But as I said before, I've been staring at it now for like 2 days. I'm pretty sick of it. So we'll just switch the lights off, leave it for a day, come back and see if I like it again. Thanks for watching, everyone. I know that was quite a long one, but I think it was fairly successful. Take care, everyone. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.